In one of South Carolina's wealthiest corners, a family lived like royalty. For nearly a century, the Murdaugh name meant power, money, and influence. Judges listened, police respected, and juries trusted them. Then, on a quiet summer night in 2021, that empire collapsed. A mother and her son were found brutally murdered on their own property, and the man who called 911 was their husband and father. This is the story of a perfect family built on lies. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button. This channel brings you real, detailed true crime stories every week, the kind that go beyond headlines and uncover the hidden truths behind shocking cases. Don't miss the next chapter of this story. To understand the Alex Murdaugh murders, you have to understand the family first. For over 80 years, 3 generations of Murdaugh men controlled the legal system in South Carolina's Lowcountry. From 1920 to 2006, they served as chief prosecutors for 5 counties. They didn't just practice law, they shaped it, bending rules in their favor. Alex Murdaugh grew up in this world, born into privilege, raised in influence, taught that the rules applied to everyone except his family. By adulthood, Alex had everything a man could want: a thriving law career, a massive hunting estate called Moselle, a respected wife named Maggie, and 2 sons, Buster and Paul. From the outside, they were untouchable. From the inside, cracks were forming. The first signs of trouble came years before the murders. In 2015, 19-year-old Stephen Smith was found dead on a rural road near the Murdaugh property. His death was ruled a hit and run, but whispers quickly spread. Some claimed one of the Murdaugh sons knew more than he admitted. No one was charged, but the shadow of suspicion began to follow the family. Then, in February 2019, tragedy struck again when Alex's son Paul crashed a boat while intoxicated, killing 19-year-old Mallory Beach. Paul was charged with boating under the influence causing death, and for the first time, the untouchable Murdaugh name faced public outrage. The question on everyone's mind: were the Murdaughs really above the law? On June 7, 2021, everything changed. That evening, Alex called 911 in a panicked voice: "I need the police and an ambulance immediately. My wife and child have been shot badly." When officers arrived, they found a horrifying scene. Maggie, 52, dead from multiple gunshot wounds near the dog kennels, and Paul, 22, killed at close range with a shotgun. No signs of forced entry, no struggle, no clear motive for an outside attack. Alex claimed he had been visiting his sick mother and discovered the bodies upon returning home. At first, he was treated as a grieving husband and father. But investigators began to notice inconsistencies. Gaps in his timeline, changing statements, and behaviors that didn't fit the picture of a man in shock. As weeks turned into months, more shocking revelations came to light. Alex Murdaugh, once a respected attorney, was accused of stealing millions from his own law firm and clients, money intended for injured people and grieving families. Suddenly, the public began to ask the question that would rock South Carolina: could the man who called 911 be the same man who pulled the trigger? The investigation intensified, uncovering layers of deception, fraud, and betrayal. The question of motive loomed over every piece of evidence, and as the case unfolded, America watched in disbelief. The Alex Murdaugh murders are more than a shocking crime story. They are the collapse of a dynasty, a warning about unchecked power, and a glimpse into how far someone might go to protect an image while hiding a dark truth. To understand how a respected lawyer became the prime suspect in the murder of his own family, we must look deeper into the investigation, the evidence, and the courtroom battles that followed. The truth that emerged would shock the nation, revealing that even the most powerful families are not immune to tragedy, and that sometimes, the people we trust most can be hiding the darkest secrets. The investigation into the Murdaugh murders was nothing short of a storm. Law enforcement combed through every inch of the Moselle property, examined surveillance footage, and analyzed phone records, financial transactions, and gun ownership. Every detail of Alex Murdaugh's life came under scrutiny. And the deeper investigators dug, the more contradictions appeared. The man who had once been untouchable, the scion of a legal dynasty, was suddenly entangled in a web of suspicion, fraud, and lies. For months, the narrative shifted. At first, many believed in the grieving father story. Alex had found his wife and son dead and was the victim of circumstance. But as the pieces fell into place, a disturbing picture emerged. Investigators discovered that Alex had orchestrated an elaborate scheme to cover his financial crimes, including embezzling millions from his law firm and clients. Money that could have sustained lives in pain and injury had vanished, siphoned into accounts no one could trace. And the motive that had seemed invisible now began to take shape, a desperate man, cornered by exposure, with a family and a legacy to protect. Then came the shocking revelation that stunned South Carolina. Alex had hired a former client to shoot him in the head, a suicide for insurance scheme meant to allow his surviving son, Buster, to collect a life insurance payout while he drew attention away from his embezzlement. It was audacious, horrifying, and deeply calculated. A man whose family had been brutally murdered was simultaneously plotting to fabricate his own death for money, raising questions about his psyche, morality, and capacity for deception. Public opinion was divided. Some clung to the story of a grieving father, overwhelmed by tragedy and financial scandal. Others saw the pattern, years of fraud, reckless behavior, and now, potential involvement in murders that shattered the Lowcountry. Every revelation intensified the scrutiny. Police and prosecutors began re-examining old cases, connections, and timelines. The Murdaugh family's grip on the legal system could not protect them from modern forensic science, digital records, and relentless journalistic investigation. The empire that had once seemed untouchable was crumbling under the weight of its own secrets. By 2022, Alex Murdaugh was officially charged with the murders of Maggie and Paul. Court proceedings revealed a man trapped by his own lies. Witnesses testified about his financial crimes, his patterns of manipulation, and the shocking lengths he had gone to cover them up. Detectives meticulously walked jurors through the timeline of the night of the murders, showing inconsistencies in Alex's statements, the absence of forced entry, and the implausibility of an outsider carrying out the killings unnoticed. The case, already notorious in the news, became a national spectacle, with every headline questioning how a powerful attorney could be responsible for such a heinous act. The courtroom was tense, every detail dissected in front of cameras, reporters, and citizens who had followed the story from the beginning. Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence. Forensic reports, phone metadata, and witness testimonies that painted Alex as a man whose life had spiraled into deception, greed, and ultimately, violence. Defense attorneys argued that Alex was being unfairly vilified, that circumstantial evidence could not convict him of the murders of his wife and son. But the narrative had shifted. In the courtroom, the powerful lawyer who had once commanded respect now faced the full glare of the public eye and the relentless pursuit of justice. Ultimately, the Alex Murdaugh case is a story of hubris and downfall, a tragic saga that combines wealth, privilege, and betrayal with cold, hard facts. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. How much power can shield wrongdoing? How far can a person fall before consequences catch up? And what happens when the very person we trust to protect us becomes the architect of our suffering? For South Carolina, and for the nation watching, the Murdaugh case was more than a murder mystery. It was a cautionary tale about the fragility of trust, the dangers of unchecked authority, and the devastating cost of secrets left unexamined. As the legal battles continue and the public waits for final verdicts, the story of Alex Murdaugh serves as a stark reminder that appearances can deceive. Behind the facade of wealth, influence, and family loyalty, darkness can fester unnoticed. And in the end, no amount of power, privilege, or history can shield someone from the consequences of their actions. The empire is no more. The family's name, once synonymous with respect and authority, now carries the weight of tragedy, suspicion, and caution for generations to come.